be better thunderstorms, that would be a good place to be. And it turned out it did. But there were other things that started to pop to my mind too. Now, a little bit about myself. I've been a meteorologist a long time. I have white hair. I've been a meteorologist
You got
for 50
hair,
years.
though.
Yeah, I got hair. There you go. How many of you are meteorologists in this room? 2 of us. How many of you are National Weather Service trained spotters?
Wow.
Now, how many of you that are not spotters go out and take pictures of the weather? Ah, you're the people we want to grab too. And I'll explain to you why I think you can play a significant role in things. I was a weather officer in the National Weather Service, or in their weather service. But I also have a master's from CSU, a bachelor's in meteorology from University of Wisconsin. And I lived with Karen, my wife, for 47 years in Colorado. Yes, we have been married 50 years. All I say is, you want to make it that far, Karen and I learned together that every 7 years you get the 7-year itch. And you have to come up with something to reinvent yourself. And so that's what this project was in some respect, a reinvention. I do live in Phoenix since 2013, so I'm almost becoming a native. I don't know what the average residency is out here, but I would guess it's probably somewhere around 11 and 12 years. I learned something when I was in Colorado, and John kind of alluded to this afternoon, because it happened to me too. You should always look above you if it gets too quiet when you're especially going out after tornadoes, because something could drop in right next to you. That was taken 50 yards away from me. That was the beginning of a land spout, and I could hear it before I saw it. And then I drove very quickly as I could down a county road, but it was a very, very close call. This was my first tornado. That shows you how old I am, because I actually saw it on television, so it's been around a while. But it's a very realistic picture, isn't it? There's my first chase in May of 1973 in Fort Collins, Colorado, when they didn't know about land spout tornadoes, and the first thing they did is they said, well, that's just a dust devil. Don't worry, we're going to go launch this baby up in a few moments. I don't know about that. It was just a few miles from my home, and it was reported by the public as a dust devil, but the photographer and I called the National Weather Service and said, hey, look, there's a connection from the ground up to the base of the cloud in here. That's a definition of a tornado. And they said, but it's standing still. This is in 1973, and we were still learning about tornadoes. In 1975, by the way, Colorado averaged 13 tornadoes per year. Our population there tripled over the next 40 years, and the number of tornadoes that we saw were averaging now 46 tornadoes per year. Well, here we are in 2015 when I decided to start this study. Any of you here know Bob Maddox, or heard of him? Dr. Bob Maddox, retired. He used to be head of the Storm Prediction Center. And in 2014, when I went on Twitter, something happened to me. First of all, I didn't know how to use it correctly, but all of a sudden, all these great pictures started showing up on hashtag AZWX. Those pictures were extremely valuable. I went to a conference. I was a meteorologist. I'm a certified consulting meteorologist. I was working for HDR Engineering. I was the atmospheric science practice leader nationally, and I was sent to the Storm Prediction Center. They were having a meeting on how to use social media to save people. Because at that time, it was looking at more of a bad thing than a good thing. And I said, well, gee, what happens here in Arizona when I live out here to using it? And it didn't look like we had a really big tornado threat comparatively, 5 and 3 for, or 5 for averages. And then in 2018, the actual number of tornadoes that came up were only 5. And those were the ones that were reported to the National Weather Service, where they observed themselves. A few more in other parts of the country. And in watching on Twitter, I had noticed that there were a lot of unreported tornadoes. And it turns out that in this study that Bob Maddox encouraged me to do and follow up, I found out that we probably are under-reporting tornadoes by a factor of 3 each year, even though we're taking their picture. Isn't that interesting? Well, here's a little bit of information on things as far as tornadoes in the state of Arizona. In the 1970s, in a decade, we had 50 tornadoes. The next decade, in the 80s, we had 24. In the 1990s, we had 56, but we had the Southwest Area Monsoon Project and the Meteorological Services Pilot Program. I was working in the MSPP because I was starting a meteorological service program, testing it out for the flood control district of Maricopa County in Phoenix. And we started out a program there just to do flash flood forecasting. Now, someone alluded to everybody saying, well, your moniker, your hashtag is Papa Henz _weather. Well, the reason for that is my son Daniel, my youngest of 3 sons, is chief meteorologist at the flood control district of Maricopa County in a program that I started back in the 1990s. I never had a clue that was going to happen. He was just barely a glimmer in my eye at that time. And he went to the University of Arizona. I'm proud to say he's made some good contributions. What's happened is that the number of tornadoes average per year has been pretty steady through this entire time period. In 1972, we had 17. In 1992, we had 13. Here in 2010, we had 12. And it turns out that 1972 was the big winner. And everybody pretty much thinks, you know, what's that, 1 per month? There's nothing to be concerned about. Well, it turns out that our population in Arizona has gone up significantly, almost by a factor of 500,000 people just in the last 10 years. That's a lot. From 1990 to 2000, Arizona was the second fastest growing state in its population by 40%. And the storm spotting community has exploded since 2000. How many of you have been chasing storms before 2000? How many of you are spotting and chasing storms since 2000? Many more. In other words, the population is going up. People are looking at the skies more and more. Well, before we talk about specific, and by the way, I'm going to show you pictures of 47 tornadoes, of which only 15 were reported, that occurred between 2015 and 2018, and they're not my pictures. They're your pictures. And the National Weather Service has had less than 5 or 6 a year actually reported to them because people are after the picture. I'm about public safety. I want the public to be safe. So let's learn a little bit about where to look and what to look at. The first one is a dust devil. How many of you have seen a dust devil? Okay. Usually you'll come out of a nice cold building. You'll step out on the parking lot that's been paved over and it feels like about 150. The air's about 110. And you look over there and you walk across a little bit of grass and say, hey, I just went 50 yards and it's cooler. Right along that temperature difference is where you start developing wind flow near the ground because of difference in what we call the surface albedo. If it's black, the odds are it's going to be very hot. If it's white, it's going to be cooler. And that's where it starts, from the bottom up, usually with clear skies, lots of solar energy, light or no winds, and a relatively cool atmosphere. Dust devil is fully formed, and I got a picture here that shows you how these things form. It's probably a little bit more interesting. The dust devils occur when it's really sunny outside. Have you noticed there aren't a lot of clouds out for most of the dust devils? It's just plain hot and sunny. I see a lot of people with white hair, by the way, going like this, because they've been watching this. They've seen it. And a lot of you spotters know it too. The sun heats one part of the ground more than others. And you start seeing a convergence. Here's a cooler area, here's the warmer air coming in, and you develop this big swirling column. That's what it looks like. They can get up to about 60 miles per hour. I saw an interesting picture of one of these in a campsite area just in California, just across by Palm Springs. and there were small campers being lifted 50 feet up into the air. There were people that were being knocked down. There was a little kid that was being dragged along the ground because he had on, I don't know, a light jacket and got caught in the wind and he was just being blown around. And by the way, that sand stings if it gets to you. It's like having somebody take sandpaper and going, oh yeah, how does that feel? Not too good. Whoa, is that a dust devil?
No.
No, it's not. But you want to know, most of them are reported as dust devils, and they're called land spouts. They form in a different way. I want you to see a couple things in this picture. First of all, you notice there are clouds in the sky. That this circulation is connected between the ground and the cloud base. Also, what's interesting is that there's some topography nearby. And then there's also a difference in the color near the ground. Because what's happening with one of these is that there's two places where interesting things are going on. And I'll show you a little better picture of this in just a moment. I have a very good friend, Sean works at North Platte for the National Weather Service, and what he's pointed out is that a lot of this circulation starts near the surface at the same time that an updraft above it in this storm is developing very quickly. We here in Arizona are blessed with lots of circulations, especially down here, where you have topography, the Mohiam Rim Convergence Zone. Right up in that area, if you want to see a tornado, that's the place to go. Well, I shouldn't say that, should I, Jeremy? Because then they'll have too many people up there. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of convergence zones in our metropolitan areas, though, too. These are very difficult to forecast. Usually they're weaker, but their wind speeds can get up to 120, 130 miles an hour. And they can do a real number on a building. Now, a land spout has two circulations. It has an upper circulation, not a supercell thunderstorm, but a rapidly developing updraft, which connects to a surface rotation that's going on and taking place. Sometimes this boundary can be an outflow boundary from a thunderstorm. Sometimes it can be a boundary between moist and warm air. Sometimes it can be a topographically induced circulation. And the two connect together. This bad boy has an actual rotating mesocyclone. You've seen pictures from our spotters over here of what those look like and how they rotate. And they basically not only start here, but they actually then work their way down. Now, there are some other ones that, let's just say there's a lot of variation on it. But this is a good way of looking at the differences. Okay. Dust devil, land spout. Well, you're on the ground, you're a spotter, and you're not quite sure. And at a distance, yes, there's clouds in the sky, but whoa. See this angle right here? And you guys have good eyes, you know what's coming. But you can just follow the angle and go right on up and see if there's a connection with the clouds. Now you can't see it, or can you?
When you see, once you point it out, you can kind of...
You can start seeing it, right? And all of a sudden you can say, oh look, I can see it, I can see it, I can see it. Well, I'm not quite sure, but hey, wait a minute. This thing's rotating the same way that one is. That is a land spout tornado. This was reported as a dust devil. The Weather Service is working on a day when they're not sure what's going on. They say, I got a good thunderstorm developing over this area. I have a real weak couplet showing up with a little bit of rotation, but nothing's being reported at the surface except the dust devil. Do you know how they can get help from you? By simply noticing what's really going on? That's a tornado. Which, by the way, I've got to get that one into the database. You haven't shared that picture.
Oh, the September 1st?
Yeah.
We're actually not.
Two? Okay. Now, here's why I come to this conference, because doing this climatology, I talk to the spotters about their best pictures, which don't always show up right away. However, John, you do a good job. Jeremy, you two guys blast the Weather Service all the time with the things that you see. Greg, same thing down here. There are a lot, I don't know all of you by name, you spotters, but I know that you do a good job communicating. But those of you in the public that are taking pictures for the first time and you have a cell phone, how many of you have used a thing called MPing? MPing. You guys need to talk about that more than me. It's a way for you to use your cell phone and communicate through pictures and words to the National Weather Service directly in your locale. I'm going to let you talk more about that at your next spotter meeting.
How's that spelled?
Or go, little m, ping, P-I-N-G. Pardon?
The radar scope, you can read that.
You're right, radar scope's got it built right on in there. So, the thing is, with a tornado, it has this contact between the ground and the cloud base. That's the 7th time I've said that, so I don't have to say it anymore. Always look for that contact between the ground and the cloud base when reporting to them. If you're suspicious, if you don't know for sure, you can say, I can see a circulation on the ground, and I can see that there's a funnel cloud or something up there above it. Would that be helpful? That would be very helpful, wouldn't it? Where do you find these? Well, supercell thunderstorms is the kind like John and Jeremy go out and chase, and we get it here in Arizona, especially up in the northern half of the state, and the western part of the state, are underrated here. This is my next project, is to actually see how many supercell thunderstorms we have in a season. You are going to be surprised with that one too. Now, we were talking about lightning a little bit earlier, and I wanted to point out that usually the surface of the earth is positive. Right along the cloud base and in the moisture of the beaver tail coming in, that's negatively because it's with water. Ice crystals above are positive. Okay, boys, let's make a shot straight on down. This year I have seen more cloud-to-ground lightning reports 25 to 35 miles away from the active part of the thunderstorm than I've seen in decades. And I've been watching this lightning network develop since the late 70s, early 80s. Something's interesting going on with our storms this year. I'm not sure what they are, or maybe we just have a better observation network. Okay, lots of lines going on here. We don't typically get this kind of a thunderstorm. The reason I have is, how many of you have chased out in the plains for looking at severe weather? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 8 of us. How many do we have here? 140? Or something? Okay, so we have 1 in 14. But if you ever do get it, how many of you have driven across the plains during the months of March through whatever? A lot of people are snowbirds going back and forth. A lot of people have relatives they're going to visit. And they see a severe thunderstorm. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, I like to use this as a real simple primer. First of all, we all can see the direction that an anvil is moving. In other words, you can go outside right now and say, okay, if there's a thunderstorm out there, I can see where that cirrus cloud anvil is going. It's going this way. Right towards the camera over there. Right there. Okay, you're in your car down here. And what's bothering you is, well, that thing's going that way. Your car is being pushed this way by a very strong south wind. A very strong inflow wind into the storm, typically below cloud base down to about the surface. That's sometimes a low-level jet, and sometimes feeding the development of a mesoscale circulation, which is helped by jet stream interaction into the storm. And by the way, the core of a thunderstorm, that's a supercell, 50 dBz or greater, typically acts just like this empty Pepsi container here. The winds at the middle and upper levels come and go right around that radar core. Some of them get ingested down into it. Some of it, with the rear flank downdraft, actually help develop the circulation and feed the development of wind differences between these southerly winds and more westerly winds to develop and continue that mesocycle. And it doesn't just happen once. It starts happening, it can last for an hour or two and recycle over and over again. So the interesting thing is that when this tornado is going to start to form, most severe thunderstorms do what we call a severe right. As soon as that low-level moisture starts feeding in, the one that's buffeting your car, at an angle, it starts saying, oh, I want to go into that moist airflow. I want to keep my updraft going. These storms really want to keep their life cycle going, and so they will move to the right. Now, if you're in a highway paralleling this and you say, oh, it's going that way, I don't have to worry. And then the next thing you know, it's starting to come right across the highway, right at you. That's where, I think I heard the word plan today. Now, if you want to take a picture of a tornado and you want to get lucky, I'm going to go over here because they're all lucky over there. That tornado is likely to move along that motion to the right of the upper level winds too. It's just a simple rule of thumb. It's better than nothing, and it has saved lives. Here's what it looks like if you're looking straight down on it. Here's where that mid-level jet is coming in and sinking down towards the surface. Here's the strong inflow into the storm and the development of a mesocyclone, which is associated with the development of the tornado typically. You're driving on the highway right over here. The anvil's going this way. Excuse me, the anvil's going this way. You're driving here. This baby's going to want to go like that.
John,
Yes,
is that the hook that gets picked up by radar?
this right here is the hook. This green area right here,
Okay.
that's basically water, ice being pulled into and around that mesocyclone, which, by the way, I was going to bring a picture of this. It shows that that mesocyclone circulation can sometimes extend up to 25,000 feet. It's right along, in other words, you've got the downdraft part that's raining in the storm, you've got the updraft part, and they're moving around each other. I know you'll never be able to drink a Pepsi like this again. I'm thinking about a tornado. My wife likes Coke, that's why I use Pepsi. There she is. That was captured by a drone. That's going to be the next big thing in picture. You're going to see drones on television all the time and see what these things really look like. That's coming right at it. It's going right this way, just like this. And I'm not endorsing the group that took the picture, I'm just simply saying they got a great picture. Okay, there's something else that happens here in Arizona that does impact you. And I've personally seen this, and I've got some great pictures to share with you. They're called gustnados. I first ran into one of these babies back in about 1993, and I saw this like this, and was rotating right at the leading edge of an outflow boundary from a severe thunderstorm just to the east of Denver, Colorado. We didn't really know what these things were at that time yet, but it turns out they're gustnados. Here's what they can look like over here. Here's one right here. Here's another one. Notice they're not that far apart. And if you've ever driven past a severe thunderstorm outflow with dust near Picacho Peak, and you see those accents that take place, here's the scary thing, brothers and sisters. This stuff is embedded in the outflow. Now, Brian Schneider I'm going to go one more ahead. Here's a harmless looking abode, right? Not harmless, it's beautiful. Look at the height of, he's got this in a nice movie. You got to get him to show it here. That's almost connecting up into the storm, but not quite. Here's another one. They're rotating around. Here's another one. Here's another one. And there's a little baby over here. Now, as that goes across a highway and you're driving a very large, high-profile semi, and you get hit by this circulation here, or you get hit by this one here, over here, you can get toppled over real quick. Your surface visibility would go down to nothing. Karen and I were driving in one of these, and we were impressed by the fact that within the dust itself, there were these small worlds. They didn't have wind speeds of more than about 35 to 45 miles an hour, but if you're pulling a camper, or you've got a boat behind you or something, those can get blown over. That's why you don't want to drive in these babies. This was near Casa Grande just a few years ago. So we had 3 different types of circulations that are really important. The dust devil, we know, is one that we don't want to confuse with a land spout or a real tornado or one of these gustnados that occur. Now, I've talked with Brian, And we've got some interesting pictures and some radar data that show an actual gustnado moving upscale into becoming a landspout tornado. So these, I think there's more than meets the eye with these, and that's where you can help out. Okay, let's take a look at Arizona statistics from 2015 to 2018 versus the National Weather Service stats. I want you to know right away, I'm doing this for your benefit. I want them to see what's not being reported, because if the Weather Service had this information, they would use it and share it. Now, for the most tornadoes in the northern part of the state tend to love the end of the monsoon season and occur right up in the northern half of the state, whereas in the red, you can see this is during our monsoon summer season, and then there's a few aberrations with the transition season. Okay. We've gone through this picture once before. I just want you to notice that the average number of tornadoes per decade is 42 over here. That the average tornadoes per year is 4.2. And the largest year was 17 in 1972. My study started in June of 15. I used social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, a little bit of local television reports, because I want to have at least 2 reports that show me that there's a real tornado going on, that there's contact with the ground and there's contact with the clouds. So I tried to have double verification. I went to Storm Data, National Climate Data Center, Storm Event Database, and I had Bob Maddox take a check on what's going on. I love this picture. Aaron Reed, much underappreciated photographer of occasionally weather. Monument Valley. Look at what a great, awesome picture. I'd like to have that one in my living room along with a bunch of others. Okay. By the way, seeing is believing. I'm going to show you each of the tornadoes from 2015 through 2018, so you can see them. And some of you took the pictures. I'm sure some of you didn't. Is that a tornado? It wasn't reported. That's the tornado that was reported in Chandler, Arizona. Did you guys see that one? Can you see this guy? That's harder to see, isn't it? Is that a tornado? A landspout? Is that one of those gustnados going upscale? Hard to say. Safford, Arizona. A couple pictures. I want to throw that in for double verification. Here's one, Harriet, Gila County, in August. And by the way, there's one, and there's 2. Take your choice. Which ones do you want to report?
Date's actually wrong on that. That was October. That was
Was that October?
Yeah.
This is another reason I come, because I know the year is right, but the people that take the pictures know the real date. Hey, wait a minute. And the reason I say that is sometimes the date that's on there is something their camera did. It's something, did you ever guys have your phone tell you it was the wrong day, or your wristwatch?
Wrong year.
Wrong year too? Not year? Nah, year usually comes up by itself pretty well. But on your cameras and that, it can make it a little bit different. Here's one in Buckeye, Arizona. We had a 3-week interaction with the National Weather Service in Phoenix on this one. And it was not because we were having arguments. This Rainbow Valley area is a real hotbed for tornadoes. And this picture was really instrumental in helping them understand, because there's 2 more pictures of it, but it's 2 hours difference in time. There were 2 tornadoes that took place that day in the Rainbow Valley near Buckeye, Arizona. Oh, there's a picture of one of them going up. I just included this to show you what's not a tornado. Notice how you can't see it coming down to the ground? It's a funnel cloud. Please don't call funnel clouds tornadoes. If you cannot see the funnel reaching the ground, like in those other pictures I just had over here, notice how you can see it? Notice how you can see it? On this other one, you can't see it? Just call it a funnel cloud. They'll be just as happy. By the way, this is not and you said, oh, that's just blowing dust. Okay. Can anybody see this tornado without the arrow? It's hard to see, but I didn't think it was either until I noticed that right here, all the way up, there's very distinct. If you put it in black and white, it's real easy to see. This lady that took the picture was a friend of Karen and I, and it was just amazing what she saw there. Now what are we going to do with this one? This guy actually reported it near Pagwitch, which is in Utah. But he took the picture in Arizona. I'm still working, by the way, this is preliminary. I know this is real, and it did happen in 2016. I just got to take a look at the perspective, because I think that's over near Flagstaff over there, but I'm not sure. 2017, Cochise College, July 2nd. Rancho Mariana, very close by at hand here. Okay, August 22nd. See that little guy right down there? I have to say, these people that take the pictures have great eyes to see these things. I didn't count this one. I didn't know what to do with it. Because this looks like a tornado down here. It doesn't really look like a gustnado. I can see something that kind of continues like this, but this part wasn't rotating, according to the person that took the picture. So, right now, it's going to be called a dustnado, I guess, but I didn't include it as a tornado. I want you to see that, just because I was trying to figure out, this was the cold air outflow pushing this way. That's why whatever was connecting. Was it a tornado earlier? We'll never know. August 3rd, 2017, we had a tornado almost touch down in Sky Harbor. We just missed. There was a nice rotation couplet on it. A couple of good pictures right here. You can see it. This is just as it was done. This is Mike Kobinski. That's what he got. Here's another one that Mike got also.
That's the only tornado I ever caught from my office.
Did
From
you?
the window. Yeah, that's actually the bottom picture, I think, is mine from the time once.
It says, courtesy John Serlin.
This is the only tornado I ever caught from not having to move anywhere.
Now you're,
Just shot it right out the window.
John, I caught all these and I haven't had to go anywhere. Here's a real nice, beautiful picture. And when I told the person, did you notice what was in your picture? He never saw it. He was enamored with the really beautiful, weak microburst taking place and didn't even see the tornado. It was interesting. Now, here's a toughie near Verde. This was rain enveloped, but it's right in here, and on the movie loop, it's moving. By the way, no movies from me, because I found out that it blows up computers and it slows things down, and there's nothing worse than a slow-moving tornado. July 14th, near Whitman. Here we go. Is that another one of those gustnados going upscale? Another one near Rio Rico. Where is she? What did you see on this day with this?
Thought it was, and
I was going to
then
ask you at the conference. That's not the picture with the landspout, though. That's the only one you put online.
right. Thought it was.
Well, I have to get the radar data to confirm this one. I didn't include it in my count.
The other
what do you
photo.
think? You're an expert down here. You got eyes. This looks like rain, doesn't it?
Looks like rain.
It
Looks like a rain.
So-
you called it, yeah.
Well, at the time, the other photos. In fact, I do have other photos, and it just looked like this one little striation, and then but there was all this other rain, sheets of rain. So that one little motion, I wasn't doing video. I was taking pictures. So to me, at first, the connection looked like a strand of rain, but it looked like it was doing its own thing away from the rain, and that was just doing what it normally
We don't
does.
get many rain-wrapped ones around here. I'm not sure what that is.
So
Yeah, it could just be rain,
it's hard to tell.
but it had motion.
Mhm.
Okay, we got one, we got two,
Chris and I timed out. Three.
so we have a combination of gustnados and a definite landspout. Pretty cool picture. Anybody here know this one? John. Am I giving away your secrets, all your good pictures? Look at this nasty boy. And that's in the metropolitan area too. That's in Phoenix. That caused damage. 2018, Desert Center in April. That's a good looking tornado. That's another, and what's interesting is there's an hour and 15 minutes between the two photos. So do I have one or two tornadoes? I don't really know. You know why? Because when the pictures were submitted, it looked like they were in almost the same places. So what you have to do is go back and look at the radar data and check it out to see if the couplets are in the same place or whether there are clear skies time-wise. Here's another one of these landspots near Gila Bend, Chandler, Walnut Canyon landspout.
Definitely.
Right? That almost got rain wrapped. I love this one. I really do. This is one of the more picturesque ones. Jeremy, this is one of yours, isn't it? No. No? Parker? John again? I was trying to give you a chance.
He goes outside, tornadoes happen. He just does.
I figured out what you do. You push it down too long and then.
Yeah, then you're in trouble.
Yep. Okay, what do we got here, folks? Meteor crater. Can you see him? Here's one guy over here. Here's one guy over here.
Yeah.
They're all out ahead of the outflow. Those are gustnadoes. Those are not tornadoes. That's a tornado. The Yuma Proving Ground in October. By the way, October 13th to 21st of last year was tornado heaven. If you ever wanted a picture of a tornado in Arizona, there were a significant number of them up there. Yuma, Page. By the way, that one was really nice, wasn't it? That's a real meanie. How about here? Well, that's not quite as picturesque, but there it is again. Okay, there we go. I don't know if this is your picture though. This particular. This was taken by a member of the public, but it's not your tornado because the time is different again by a couple hours. I don't know if they happen that early. That's what I was going to ask you about because traveling public. When did the tornado happen? Well, I stopped for gas. My clock right now says it's 2 o'clock. It happened sometime between noon and 2.
That's the same
That
event.
looks like
Is it? Okay, good. Two guys. Landspout in Denver, 2 of them. I know that at first they called this a dust devil, and this one was a landspout. Then they call them 2 gustnadoes, but if you go this way, and then you go this way, and if you stand at the angle I'm at, you can see that this bad boy is going right up over here, and this one was going up over here. Damage was done by those also. Oh, back to Jeremy. It's one of your great captures.
Oh, beautiful.
It's very well.
You want to tell them about that one just a little
I'm going
bit?
to tell them about it just a little bit, actually.
Chase that
Well,
little-
you'll just have to wait another 9 minutes. And here's one on October 31st, down here again. And now the Wilcox tornado. I don't know, I'm having trouble putting the date on this. It's from 2018. It's from one of our spotters.
That looks like the same one from the photo that you showed earlier that was from Wilcox. That looks
Yeah.
like the same exact one.
Yeah. Well, I'm showing it again because I didn't count it,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to reinforce.
We counted it.
Pardon?
We counted it
Oh, did you?
that day,
Okay.
because it came across Twitter.
Was it that
It was
day?
Roger's.
Okay, okay. All
Yeah,
right,
we counted.
Roger? Okay, good. Then what I'll do is I'll go back, I have a listing of all your tornadoes and I included them in the counts also. If we have a picture of it, but I didn't include them in this picture.
Yes.
But I included it because you guys said it was good, but I didn't know it was this one.
That looks like the same
Look.
picture, just zoomed in
Yep,
from the one you showed earlier.
could be, it could be from the same person. It's not always identified.
Yeah.
This one was on the Arizona side, near the California-Arizona border. The guy took it before he went into California. That's the kind of information. Notice there's a star up in the corner? I'm not sure. I want to know exactly where this is. Is it in Arizona or California? We'd love to have it. Okay, Let's take a look at the official number of tornadoes. 2015. If you climatologically go and look up 2015, you'll find 5 in Arizona. But there's 12 in pictures unambiguously. 9 funnels were in the records. There were 17. I didn't put all the funnels up to show, but they're great. 1 and 5. 4 and 15. 3 and 13. There's that one with the asterisk. 20 funnels. 2018, 17, 18 funnels. 47 versus 14. Average 3.5, average 11.75. That's a difference of 3 times more than are in the climatological records, which, by the way, is very close to the same thing between the funnel clouds. Okay. I didn't want to do this one. It's hard to understand. All it does is it shows you that with the record that we have right now, it shows that we had a peak in tornadoes during the monsoon season and in the month of October, a transition season, compared to the usual just the monsoon season. Why the difference? 40% population growth since the 90s. The use of social media. And you all have cell phones, and you're taking pictures, and you're putting them on Twitter, and you're putting them on Facebook, and you're sending them to the TV stations. A significant growth and maturity of the Arizona storm spotter community. I've noticed since we moved out here that the storm spotter community that I know regularly is out there looking is doing better than most states. It's did a lot better than Colorado, almost on the par with Arizona. I mean with Oklahoma, the way you guys report things. It's really, you've upped your game. But the problem is a failure of all of us to timely report to the National Weather Service what they observe. We have a public responsibility to help each other. That's what community is all about. So the takeaways are 47 on social media, TV, papers, and the National Weather Service report. Only 14 totally reported during this time. 70 funnel clouds. 6 to 10 of those, by the way, if I was to bring them here, we could debate them over a period of time, but we might add another 6 or 10. And I'm being conservative, because that's the way I do things when it comes to weather. Tornadoes are being underreported. Tornado climatology should be considered for review and updating. We need better cooperation between the spotters and National Weather Service. That goes both ways. I did not see the National Weather Service up in Phoenix, in Flagstaff, or down here in Tucson, religiously on severe weather days, find observations of tornadoes that were clearly right there in Twitter. So it goes both ways. Pay attention to social media when it's a severe weather day. Need to look for the ground to cloud-based connection so you can sort out the dust devil versus the land spout versus a tornado. And our population continues to be increasing. And they're driving the changes. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to gather information for Monsoon 2019. I'm going to go back and look at the radar data for the funnel and tornado cloud days. I'm going to look at the weather patterns, the dynamics, and anybody that knows my page, they know I'm a skew-T freak. I analyze it all the time along with surface data and suggest what hours the storms are going to pop, where are they going to be, how strong are they going to be, and then we wait and see what happens. I had a real nice spring though calling for funnel clouds and tornadoes in Phoenix. I did it in Denver too though. Repetitive topographic effects, and continue all of you to be spotters for the National Weather Service. Soon, very soon, I think July 4th, it's coming. It is coming. And by the way, a lot of people know me as Dan Henz's dad. That's why I go by Papa. If you want to reach me, it's the hashtag PapaHenz_Wex, or my email, jfhenz@cox.net. Be glad to interact with you. A lot of people send me pictures of their tornadoes. A lot of people send me pictures of their film and stuff and say, what do you think? And by the way, I take this picture right here with my cell phone. I have a Pixel 3XL, and I haven't gotten sophisticated because I was doing sophisticated stuff long ago and far away. Thank you all.